Hey, fourth graders. Today our learning target is I can add decimal fractions in tenths and hundredths with like denominators. So we are talking about decimal fractions today, but as a quick review, what is a fraction? It's equal parts of a whole object. The top number is called the numerator. That's how many fractional pieces you have. And here you have one fractional piece. And the lower number is called the denominator. That's how many equal pieces you have all together. So this pizza is broken into two pieces, and that's how many pieces it's broken into all together. That's the denominator. Today we're actually going to be dealing with decimal fractions. A decimal fraction is a fraction that ends in tens or hundreds. For our purposes, it's tens or hundreds. So here's a picture of what a decimal fraction looks like. One whole broken into 100 pieces. 38 of those 100 pieces are colored in, so that's the numerator, and the denominator is 100. So this is 38 hundredths, and we can also write it like a decimal. Today, however, we're going to just be focusing on fractions. So fractions like 1/10, 55 hundredths, 4/10, or 67 hundredths. We're going to be focusing on decimal fractions, fractions that end in tens or hundreds, not end in, have a denominator of 10 or 100. So what we're doing today is we're going to be adding these fractions. And when we add fractions, we basically, we keep the denominator the same and add the numerators. So for instance, in this case here, the denominator is tenths, so we're always going to be dealing with tenths. So we leave the bottom number tenth as a 10 for our answer, and we simply add the top numbers, or the numerators. 3 plus 1 is 4. So the answer to this problem, 1/10 plus 3/10 is 4/10. It's that simple. Let's take a look at this one. 3/10 plus 5/10. Well, we know when we add fractions, we keep the denominators the same. We're dealing with tenth pieces, okay, pieces that are 1/10 of a whole. That never changes, but the number of pieces, 3 plus 5, does change. If you add 3 pieces plus 5 pieces, you get the number 8. And so the answer here is 8/10. We're also going to be doing the same thing with hundredths. Again, we're dealing with adding decimal fractions with like denominators. Like means the same. So we're dealing with fractions that have the same denominator. 10 100ths plus 20 100ths. Well, as we know, when we add fractions, we keep the denominator the same. We're always dealing with hundredth pieces. Okay, little tiny bitty 100th pieces, but how many do we have? The number of pieces changes. 10 plus 20 is 30. So the answer to this problem is 30 100ths. 30 100ths. So the next problem is 45 hundredths plus 35 hundredths. And we are going to, maybe you might need to use the standard algorithm for adding 45 plus 35. And you could do so by, remember, lining them up, 45 plus 35. If you cannot do this in your head, you may need to write it down with a pencil and a piece of paper. And you always begin the addition fun on the right-hand side with the ones. Make sure the ones are lined up. 5 plus 5 is 10, but we only put the 0 down here and we bring the 1 over here. And then we add, because 1 and 4 is 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 80. So you may have to use the standard algorithm for adding. And then we're going to put the 80 on top. That is the numerator. The denominator stays the same. That's the size of the piece. They're little bitty hundredth pieces, but we have 80 of them. And the answer to this problem is 80 100ths. Okay, class, that's how you add decimal fractions with like denominators. Good luck on your assignment.